Good afternoon, everybody. I think now it's working. Hope you all had a chance to grab a little bite and get some lunch. And I feel fortunate to be right after lunch, and I'll see if I can actually keep you awake once the digestion starts setting in. But hopefully we have something exciting to share with you today and give you some good updates. The first thing I want to do is just really thank you. And not only thank you for helping us drive a fantastic year, but really thinking about what has happened over the last 12 months since we met here the last time. It is quite astonishing. If you were here 12 months ago, we showed the new experiences with AX7, the code name at that time, or what we now call the new Dynamics AX. And there was a lot of excitement about these things. But when we were here last year, we hadn't sorted all the pricing and licensing and all the go-to-market models and all these motions around the new Dynamics AX. We've since introduced those. We drove readiness all fall last year. And we actually introduced a whole new packaging concept that was completely new for any solution from Microsoft, where we brought all the services together in one integrated offering, including Azure. We embedded Power BI. We had machine learning elements included and so forth. We tied that to the way we actually built the models through which we work with you, our partner models and our compensation models and all that stuff. All that change we've been sending you through and we've been working through with you over this past year. And it's quite amazing to think that we actually ended the year only three months after we launched the service in the market, with a result of the online service that was several 100% over what we actually expected. So I want to give you all a big round of applause and thank you for your commitment and work with us over the past year. And not only that, we actually kept the core business that was still based on AX 2012. We kept that going and also met the targets and the goals in that area. So it's been a fantastic year. So thank you very much. And what we've kind of been exposed to this past year is kind of the same as we've been talking to our customers about for the past few years. We've been talking to the customers about the rapidly increasing pace of change that they have to go through and why they need a system like Dynamics AX with LCS services and so forth so they can rapidly adapt and adjust to constantly changing environments. The fact is we've kind of ourselves in this room, we are working through this change with our own businesses as well. And I'll go way back. Some of you have seen me use this slide before, so I'm not going to go through the slide and you can read it. But if you go all the way back to even before this slide, 1913, Henry Ford introduced the assembly line with Ford Motor Company. They were still producing cars, but from almost one day to the other, they could multiply their production with several 100%. They reduced the production time of one car from 12 hours, or the assembly from 12 hours to 90 minutes. They introduced 3 shifts that worked 24 hours a day, reduced the time everybody was working, and within 1 year they had increased production to more than 300,000 cars a year. That was in 1914. They completely disrupted the industry. Lots of car manufacturers that were trying to come in business at the same time completely went out of business because nobody could follow them, because obviously they could drive down prices and do other things. So that was a revolution that was kind of enabled by the assembly line. I believe when we look back at today, 20 years from now, we'll look at this moment in time as the same type of revolution. A revolution that is driven by all the data that is available, the intelligence we can derive from the cloud, the data we can capture and leverage from all different kinds of sources, not only what is inside our own firewall. That enables the same type of disruption. Think about the way that Uber has disrupted the taxi industry. And not only the taxi industry, now you can actually Uber and a helicopter as well in some places, right? Or what about Airbnb and how they have disrupted the hotel industry? How many in here have booked through Airbnb during WPC? Just look at these hands. It's crazy. How many booked Airbnb last year? 2. See how quickly these things changes, and it's all enabled by data, cloud, technology, and so forth. So I really think we'll look back at this moment in time at that same type of change. That's why we're driving hard also on this change, and it's closely, of course, connected to the entire mission and vision of Microsoft. We have, ever since we started working on AX7, been very, very closely associated with this around the intelligent business cloud, around the reinventing productivity and business processes, and obviously making sure that we can work on all the different types of devices and personal computing that people use in their daily lives, in their work lives or in their private lives. This is also what has led to a natural progression of what we're actually doing now with Dynamics 365. Dynamics 365 is that natural progression towards this vision, towards enabling that rapid change and make sure that we can constantly live and stay with our customers where they are and with what they want to achieve. Not only what they need, but also what they want to achieve in the future, because they have to constantly change. Technology today for many of these companies out there is a prohibitor. It's not an enabler. We want to provide the enablement for businesses to innovate, transform, and disrupt in their industries. Now, if you look at these value propositions, those of you that have followed what we've done with Dynamics AX7 for the last year, you will actually recognize probably every single one of these bullets. Because when I bring up the next slide, this is how we've been talking about Dynamics AX7 since we actually introduced it. This slide is the same. Well, actually, there's one thing that has changed. It's now called Dynamics 365 for Operations. But we are still focusing on the same thing, on bringing completely new user experiences on any device. We have always embedded Power BI, embedded machine learning, and so forth, and we'll continue to do all these different things. And we'll actually accelerate that piece of work, and you'll see some great examples of that later on, also how we are now bringing it together with Dynamics CRM and so forth. The proven business logic that we brought forward from previous versions have also really served us well. It has served us well in the context of discussing with customers and providing them confidence that we actually have something that is proven to run their business, even though we have brought a completely new product, a new set of technologies built on and for Azure. 100% we brought that to market, but with a proven set of business logic. It's a very, very impactful message that has worked well. And the continuous life to your system, in the context of Dynamics 365, it's about buy and get started with what you need here and now. But once you're up and running on it, you need to evolve, adapt your business processes on an ongoing basis. So our investments in lifecycle services will obviously continue to help and enable those that type of agility. And business anytime, anywhere with the Microsoft Cloud in a mobile-first world is obviously still completely central to all the things that we are doing. Now, there are many things in AX7 that gets people truly excited. One simple thing is just the user experience. It is really, really easy to fall in love with AX7. How many of you have tried? Just give yourself the challenge next time you meet with somebody, meet with a customer or prospect. Get them to say, wow, within 5 minutes. I guarantee you can make it happen. I have a few folks in the room here I've tried it with, and we didn't even get to 4 minutes before they say, wow. So it's doable. And once you have people really falling in love with this compared to what everything else that is in the marketplace, a conversation becomes so much easier. Let's hear it from a few customers here.
Microsoft AX is our business processes. It's the foundation that all work is done around, and it's extremely important that we embrace every feature it has.
Cloud AX software is enabling us to move quicker, faster, and stronger so that we can keep up with the demand for information on both a global and a domestic scale.
他社さんでもそういったことをやはり変化の早い業界ではぜひ導入を検討されてみるといいんじゃないかなと思います。
Bringing the data from AX, from CRM, and from external sources, even our own product data, that will bring new possibilities, new services to our customers.
AX is providing an end-to-end visibility of our processes from sales, opportunities, projects, throughout the whole manufacturing process.
With the Microsoft Dynamics AX package, we believe we're going to be able to automate a significant amount of processes that previously were either manual or in some cases still tracked in an Excel format. As I tell my team all the time, I want to be in a process of analyzing data more than I want to be inputting data. And we believe the software package will do exactly that.
Microsoft has helped us deliver our product faster, and so we're very glad to extend that to new realms because they've been a great partner.
Our focus to move to AX to the cloud was to minimize our local infrastructure and allow our people to focus on our customers. Microsoft Clouds allows us to focus on what we need to.
Without Microsoft as a collaborative partner, a lot of what we're trying to achieve globally would not be in the realm of possibility, especially in the short term.
I see more and more the synergy between the business that we are running every day and the developments that Microsoft is doing for us and the promise they do for us in the future.
AX is revolutionizing our relationship with our customers. It's empowering us with information on hand to answer questions at any time, anywhere.
Everything that we're doing is enabling us to create better, faster, and more reliable information for our customers and all those parties that interact with us around the world. And through that, we can save more lives.
All right. So that was a set of customers that have either purchased, decided for AX7 in the cloud, or are already live. We're seeing some very, very interesting different buying patterns and deployment patterns now because it's cloud. One of the customers you see up here is Husqvarna. The interesting thing with Husqvarna is they discovered or got exposed to the new AX in March. From the time they actually discovered they made a purchase decision to when they started their deployment to when they went live was less than 90 days. So within 90 days they discovered, purchased, deployed, and were in production with an online service. Obviously that required a different approach to doing things, both from the partners that implemented, but also from the customer in terms of how they actually adopted and adjusted to new systems. We have some other interesting customers across the board here. And the interesting thing is also it's across industries and it's across geographies. We've seen some of the biggest online deals come out of Africa. We've seen big deals in Japan, UK, Canada here. We've seen them in the US, we've seen them in Latin America. We've seen them everywhere. So this is not a super regional or geographical phenomenon. It's actually something that is happening across the globe. Not only are new customers exciting about this, our install base that we have out there is an absolutely phenomenal opportunity. We have two groups in our install base. We have AX 2009 customers and AX 2012 customers. There's a lot of AX 2009 customers that kind of determined already a couple of years ago and said, like, we're not gonna upgrade to AX 2012. We're gonna wait for the new AX and then we're gonna move straight to that one, which is a great decision for them, I think. But the fact is, we now have probably, let's just say, roughly 6,000 AX 2009 customers, 6,000 AX 2012 customers that will be upgrading. Especially the AX 2009 base, there's a pinned-up demand for upgrades, and it's a fantastic opportunity to also fill pipeline with install base, because not only is this an upgrade, this is also an incremental revenue opportunity as you bring them to the cloud. So you should expect over the next few months that we will start driving much more campaigning towards our install base and generate leads through our online marketing mechanisms and so forth that we'll obviously distribute and share with you in the process. So phenomenal opportunity from our existing customer base here as well. The app source that you saw James give a demo of this morning as well, also a fantastic opportunity. And again, I will say this is actually a natural progression of some of the things that we've done over the past few months, what this group has done over the past few months. The opportunity is obviously big for how customers want to think about gaining applications and so forth. And don't only think about app source in the context of, hey, it's a way to actually get systems provisions, maintained and updated and all these different things. But it's a way to get in front of a different audience than we normally get it in front of. As the slide here says, there's such a shift in terms of budget and who actually spends the money, that the people that will get exposed to your solutions on AppSource is a different type of people. It's the decision makers with the budget dollars out there. So they're going to drive a different set of activities and engagements around what they see on the marketplace. But the exciting thing here for all of you is, again, natural progression of what we actually did with the Azure Marketplace when we started AX7. So all the ISV solutions that you have invested in building over the past year have been moved directly into AppSource from where they were in the Azure Marketplace. So more than 53 solutions are available today in AppSource for Dynamics AX. So thank you very much for the commitment that you've, again, provided to building these solutions, because that's important for the entire ecosystem. Without these solutions available, we couldn't drive the business as hard as we're doing right now. Looking at the solutions, again, as I mentioned, exactly 53, feel free to count if you want, but 53 as of yesterday that are available on AppSource. Now, as I started out by saying, we're going through tremendous change, and you are driving tremendous change in your communities, in your organizations, and so forth. So I thought I would spend a few minutes just welcoming Cem Item from Sunrise and Russell from Ibis up here with me, and having a little bit of a discussion on some of the things that you have changed in your organizations and the way you work. So please help me welcome Russell and Cem. Thank you. Have a seat here. So, Cem, if you could start, just give the audience a little bit of an introduction to you and Sunrise.
Sure. Hi, everybody. Sunrise is a cloud solution provider and a global systems integrator that solely focuses on Microsoft Dynamics AX. We have been a partner of Microsoft for 14 years. We have offices in U.S., 3 offices in U.S., 1 in Switzerland, 1 in China, also a development center. We have our own IP that we developed in 2007, which is featured in AppSource today. We sell, implement, and support our clients. We focus solely on consumer goods, especially on apparel, footwear, and home furnishings industries.
Excellent. Russell?
Yeah, my name is Russell Goebel. I'm with Ibis. We are a ISV for advanced supply chain software. We target the distribution industry, really distribution needs of wholesale distributors, manufacturers, and retailers. And we're actually up on the AppSource as well. And we're a wholly integrated solution with Dynamics AX, and really excited with the cloud opportunity we have with AX for the new Dynamics AX.
Cem, could you tell us a little bit about how you have changed things and how you interact with customers, and maybe also how you've changed things inside of your own organization to adjust to this?
Sure. So we actually endorsed the cloud very, very quickly. The moment it was generally available, we started shifting all of our sales cycles. So I basically handled the business development in Sunrise. The client perception was great. They really liked the modern UI. It's a very nice web, as well as the office tools kind of coming together. It was a very, very nice experience, both for us to demo as well as they consuming the, if you will, package. Our sales cycles right now is actually going faster. I think Microsoft is doing a great job in terms of pushing the cloud, and the clients are more acceptance towards the cloud. 4 or 5 years ago, we used to get questions about cloud, but it was kind of a side question. Right now, it kind of changed from why cloud to why not cloud, if you will. So our sales cycles are faster. We are able to service the client in a sales cycle because of, again, the LCS and other tools that we have. Overall, it has been a great experience. Internally, we had to change a lot. We had to keep up with the speed. So we definitely took our IP and then moved it to the cloud, as well as went to the extension model fully. Not only that, I guess like the biggest change that we have done was to actually internal, in terms of creating a sales organization that is also enabled in the cloud, which basically means that all their performance metrics and so forth, rather than getting stuck in the old on-premise, high margin upfront revenue recognition model, to a more kind of a cloud-based, long-term company performance-related incentive structure, which was honestly the biggest change that out of all the technical and other things that you can think of.
So the new AX for you has not really just been a new product, it's been a completely new business that you have introduced.
Exactly. It actually opened up a completely new market for us. So our clients kind of range from multi-billion-dollar companies to a couple tens of millions of dollars of companies, but on the small end. So it opened up the lower end of the mid-market for us that those clients wouldn't have actually even tried, if you will, AX. So it opened up a great solution for them. our first deal was closed just 2 months after the general availability. It took us actually 6 weeks to close it. It was one of the fastest ones to close it. The second one just came right after that. And then all of our AX12 deals in the pipeline converted to cloud.
So you moved them all from AX 2012 pipe to AX7?
We actually even moved the deployments that were going on, which was 2-3 months into 12, and we moved them to the cloud as well.
Okay. How has the expectations on the customer side changed with a cloud engagement versus...
Right. Cloud is very interesting, actually. The cloud is also now forcing us to do things faster, quicker, because there's a perception from the client base that if it is cloud-enabled solution, it should be able to much easier to deploy, much faster to deploy. So we are getting this huge demand in terms of how we could do it faster. So we already have done it. I mean, deployed 110 times Microsoft Dynamics AX, and we definitely have kind of built our own best practices and so forth. Right now, we are wrapping them around the cloud, and we are trying to basically speed up the process, maybe approach more agile, evolving solution than a kind of a typical waterfall, long deployment sales cycle, so the implementation cycle. So that is there. I don't think it's going to go away. I think those demands are going to come up more, and then we have to change as all partners to basically endorse it and come up with solutions for it.
Excellent. Russell, you've been building solutions and investing in building solutions for this cloud world. Tell us a little bit about how that journey has been.
Well, so we've been in the new AX since CTP1, right? So we've been going through that entire evolution and that moving target, and it has been an exceptional process to see how it has evolved, how LCS is now really part of the product as well, really when we think about it from the standpoint of our offering. And we have, it's been an exceptional development platform, right, with the new Visual Studio basis. And we have been able to package it in such a way that we can easily deploy it. And now with LCS and the updates they made, we can easily version control all of that in a much more seamless and traceable fashion than before. And then also we are able to now leverage our industry expertise, right? It's one thing to say that I have an expertise in an industry and try to prove that out, but when I can now look at LCS and I can see our business process library, I can show our methodology, I can show our documentation, our task guides, all the help tools that are right there in front of their face, then we can really prove out. We can actually, we know your business, and instead of like, when you go into an implementation, you're saying, so let's find out where your gaps are. Well, here's what we think you need as your best practice. Now we can kind of peel away the gaps from that standpoint. It's just a much faster way to deliver the solution, and also lets us show our industry expertise from having that IP, right? That IP that is also our implementation methodology, our business process libraries, above and beyond just code, which, hey, I'm a software guy, I love code. But, it's really shows us that industry is actually part of our IP.
So, Russell, Ibis made a big commitment and a big bet on this type of business a couple of years ago. Yeah. And you went through a pretty big change just very recently. You got acquired.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about why did they want to buy you?
Well, I mean, they tell us they bought us because of our IP. So I love to hear that story since that's my baby, right? But Sonata is a very large public company out of India. They bought Ibis. They needed to build out their IP library because they have some expertise on retail and B2C and B2B commerce. We were a natural fit for their portfolio, and they have solutions that we will now be integrating in as well that allows us to target a much a truly global presence. And then they got up from us an industry expertise and a solution that was already built and ready to go, and obviously a North American practice in the process. So it has been it's like any acquisition. There's corporate cultures issues to get over, but we are now beyond that hump, and we're expanding greatly because we still need more people to meet all the opportunity that Sonata has brought to us.
Right. Jim, is there a final piece of advice you would leave the audience with here?
Sure. I think cloud is inevitable. I would say fully endorse it. I think the technology is there. I think the client is more than ready. again, as I mentioned, we're hardly hearing a resistance on the cloud. There are a couple issues that may come up, but honestly, they are not big. So we have a great product. I think the market is ready. It's more, I think, the internal processes that you may face that may be holding you back. And I would highly encourage you guys to kind of take a look at it and change your organization, because it's an opportunity to go ahead and grab. And I guess the early comers are going to be more successful than the ones that are kind of coming behind.
Yeah. Russ, anything you would like to add?
Well, I would echo pretty much everything Jim said, because it really is, it's the new technology. Like it or not, the kids today, they think cloud. Everything's on their phone. So we've got to be ready for it, because eventually those people are going to have jobs. They're going to need to. They're not going to be concerned about everything that we worry about with the cloud, right? So it's the way to go. And Microsoft is, ground up the best company to bring those solutions to market. No one has the complete vision that Microsoft has for the cloud in our future.
Thank you very much. Well, I hope somebody recorded this, because this was a good commercial. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you very much. All right, so I want to shift gears and talk a little bit about the future, talk about roadmap, and let's see what we have here. And the first thing I actually want to share with you here today is one of the things that we're going to launch over the next couple of weeks here is a new website where we're going to publish on a rolling 90-day basis constant updates to what the outlook to our roadmap is, what we're going to ship short-term, but also what is going to come on medium-term and longer-term vision and direction and so forth. So there's going to be that constant overview of things. Now, we're obviously also going to use this to backtrack and make sure that before we publish something for the broader world to consume here, then we'll have the necessary readiness calls with you guys to make sure you have a heads up on it before customers get exposed to it, so you'll constantly be updated on these different things. As we get closer to the launch of Dynamics 365 later this fall, we will align this roadmap website with the other assets that is going to make up Dynamics 365, and have just one roadmap website for Dynamics 365. So it's one of the areas where it's all going to come together. We actually have a little preview of it here, and you can see we're going to categorize it by financial management, HCM, manufacturing, project management, retail, and all the different areas where we know that there are significant updates. We're simply doing this also in recognition of the fact that I would not be able to go through our roadmap in a session like this, at this level. That's simply too much happening. So we have to find better ways also in this area to constantly communicate and get you updated on everything that is happening on an ongoing basis in cloud speed, no pun intended. So pretty exciting stuff. The other thing I wanted to shift into a little bit again, back to roadmap. If we think about cloud, I think what we are often meaning when we say cloud is actually hybrid. I think everybody recognizes that hybrid is something that is not only super relevant, but it's pragmatic. It's what is necessary. There is just the reality that there's a lot of things that we can get from the cloud, but there are also things that we can't get from the cloud that we'll have to have on-premise. There are also things on-premise that we just can't get on-premise that we'll have to get from the cloud. And that hybrid world is really, really being endorsed, and I call it just a pragmatic approach, because that's a reality. It's not an either-or. And that's why hybrid is such a core component to how we think about our strategies and how we move forward and so forth. I think we've probably all of us in here, we've probably all been guilty of saying, hey, there's on-premise and then there's cloud. The reality is we need to start bridging that and endorse the hybrid world a lot more. And the way that we are looking at this is really about bringing what we call bringing the best of all worlds together. If we think about the best of cloud and on-premises, what does that look like? And what are the elements that are really relevant there? And we're going to talk a little bit about that. We're also going to bring the best of public and private cloud together. Because the reality is there's a lot of things, a lot of reasons why people do private cloud today. They do that because they couldn't be served with those same needs in the public cloud. But what if we can serve all the needs in one and the same thing, so we don't need to separate these things? Again, bringing the best of both worlds together between public and private. That's another key focus for us. We obviously focused on delivering on the promise of Dynamics 365. Make no mistake, we know that there's a lot of work to do to make that real. What you've heard here during the conference about Dynamics 365 is not just a piece of repackaging. There's a lot of actual deep engineering work that is happening to make that true, not only within the products, but the entire experience. How you buy it, how you sign up for it, how you administer it, how you monitor it, how you do all these different things will become a Dynamics 365 experience. So lots of work and lots of investments, obviously, that goes into that area. And we'll continue to build out the core functionality and the local functionality into the different markets that we obviously need. And finally, we'll continue and are committed to serving our existing customer base out there. And as I talked about earlier, we'll have some pretty attractive ways for also bringing them forward into the new AX. So let's take a look at what it actually means. If we look at this hybrid world, the focus that customers often have when they talk about on-prem or cloud, what they often mean and what they all often focused on achieving there is really business continuity. They want to make sure that their business can always keep running. That's the business goal. That's why they're asking for it. And that's a commitment and an area we are investing in. And we actually have elements that we are bringing out already now that works in conjunction with the cloud. One such example is our retail store server. So if you have a retail store that is operating, if somebody goes out and cuts the cables to the internet, that store needs to continue to run. So we actually have a retail store server we can put in the store. If the connection runs, they can continue to transact and do all the business in the retail store. Once the connection comes back on, it'll sync up again and they're back online. So that's a typical example of business continuity and how we can address that. And we're looking at how to address that and build that into a number of other areas as well, where there's just business critical stuff, where business continuity is such an important aspect of things. Other elements around processing. There are certain things that are super ideal to be processed in the cloud because of the compute and the power we can get from it there. But there are other things where you really don't want to have it processed outside of your own environment. We use the example of a laser cutter in a manufacturing environment. You don't want to have that laser cutter being, processing some piece of material and then you have latency on the internet and it just keeps cutting with the laser for the next 2 hours. You definitely don't want to sit underneath the table when that happens, right? So that's another example that shows that it'll never be an either or. It'll be an and those things, they really come together. Data residency is another element. There are certain pieces of data that make sense to have on-premise and in your own environment and other things that make sense to have in the cloud. And we'll bring these worlds together to make sure that we can actually drive these elements. Intelligence and IoT, other great examples. You saw before how we've embedded Power BI inside of AX7. Power BI is by nature a cloud product. It'll always be in the cloud. So if it works with something that is stored in customers' own data centers, that's fine, but the Power BI piece will always sit in the cloud. The amount of data you'll have to process in big environments with lots of IoT sensors, with big data and big audience and so forth, it's almost impossible to scale up a local environment to handle all these things. So a perfect example, again, where the cloud brings things that will have to work with things you have in customers' own data centers. When we talk about the best of public and private cloud, I'm very, very excited to share with you here today that we are going to have some very significant scale-out roadmap for our cloud. It's a fact that for the first 3 months here, we've been fairly conservative with the customers we've taken on to run in the cloud. We've been fairly conservative. And that also means we've been able to be successful with all of them. I'm very proud to say, and I'm very grateful for our engineering team for having built a service that have had single cloud-related escalations in the time that we've had it up and running. Not a single cloud escalation. Our average time to identify anything that comes up is 2 minutes. Within 2 minutes, if something has come up with one of the customers, our servicing team, they have discovered it, and in most cases, they have fixed it before the customer even found out about it. So tremendous success, but we've also been conservative. We are going to take that conservatism to the next level now and investing some pretty dramatic things in both compute, in storage, and leveraging all the elasticity that we know from Azure today. So within the next 6 months, we will see have ability to store more data in the cloud than any of our current AX 2009 and 2012 implementation in the whole world. So that's how fast we are scaling this, and we'll continue to scale it in the spring, where we'll also add a lot more capacity to this. So 12 months from now, we will be at a position where, from a scale perspective, we believe that the biggest customers that we will have, they will always go cloud, because that's where they can get the necessary scale that they need. So we'll get scale that goes well beyond what is even possible on premise today. We'll add new self-serve capabilities where data that may sit in SQL Azure today will be able to run and be moved into a traditional SQL Server store as well, which I think opens up some very interesting opportunities also in a hybrid environment where you can use data in multiple places. We are today, or this week, we have announced that we are now available for preview here in the Canadian data center, and we'll have production environments in the Canadian data center running from September. And later this fall, we will be in preview in the German sovereign data center, and we'll be in production there shortly after. And we are also going to go in preview in the China data center in the spring of 2017. So we're getting into all these sovereign data centers where, for different local legislation and regulations and so forth, the data has to be kept within geographical boundaries and so forth. So lots of investments there. The work that we're doing with compliance and which is exposed in our Trust Center. How many of you are aware of the Trust Center? Okay. I will highly recommend that you take note of that term, Trust Center. That's the place on the web where you can see all the cloud certifications, all the principles for how Microsoft operates cloud, our terms and so forth for who owns the data, all these different things you can find on the Trust Center for all of Microsoft's cloud services. We are also introducing fast-track commitments where our solution architecture teams will have a fast-track service that will help you and help customers actually get live much faster and just continue to build on the pace that Jem talked about. Customers want to be live quickly and as seamless as possible. And finally, when I talk about we want to bring the best of all these worlds together, a lot of the things I've talked about here is really what you would typically talk about in private cloud. But we're going to continue to do it in a manner that is always Microsoft managed, as you know it from the service today. We know customers that value that very, very much. And it means that we are going to stand behind you in the commitment to the customer in every single engagement. And I think that means a lot when you're in front of customers. You can say, hey, there's this commitment from Microsoft to run, manage, and make sure the service is monitored. So we can monitor and identify things when they happen within the 2-minute example I gave you before. So it's a pretty unique way of bringing public and private cloud together in something that nobody else delivers. On the app functionality side, again, Dynamics 365, besides the lifecycle services that lifecycle experiences that I talked about before, there's a number of scenarios we have to land. You've seen examples of them here. Take a typical, we often talk about order to cash scenarios, but I almost call it a prospect to renew scenario. If somebody in your sales organization is using Dynamics CRM for their sales, it's likely today that when they're entering sales orders, maybe they're not even entering sales orders, maybe they're giving them to the order office. But if they're entering sales orders, they're not necessarily getting the correct price automatically come up. They don't get the automatic correct discounting for the customer. They don't get availability to promise. On the flip side, on the AX side, if one of the salespeople is submitting a quote also in CRM, in the inventory and the warehouse, they don't get reservations in inventory for the things that have been maybe promised to customers and so forth. So there's just a lot of these scenarios that we'll need to build end to end that benefits both sides of it. And obviously later on here today, I think there's some licensing sessions and so on that will also really bring out tremendous financial benefit to customers in this environment. So I'll encourage you to go check that out as well. And then finally, for on-premises, what we really have as a truly, James taught me a new word in this context that's called untethered. Truly untethered, completely isolated environment that will never, ever, ever be connected to the cloud. That's what we can actually do with AX 2012 today. And we'll continue to serve these customers. And today we are announcing that we are extending support for them until October 2021. And we will continue with biannual updates and regulatory updates and so forth. But make no mistake, we believe that the hybrid world is where things will go, and that's where we are investing with AX7, that true hybrid environment. Now, in our current statement of direction that we have out there, we have communicated that we expected to have a version like that at the end of this calendar year. That communication and that plan was predicated on the availability of Azure Stack, as some of you know. This morning, Azure Stack announced that they have a slightly updated timeline for their offerings. And not only an updated timeline, they also have an updated view of how they will execute on it. That's called mid-2017. So this announcement, in combination with our announcement of Dynamics 365 today, basically means that we will have to rethink a little bit exactly on how we're going to execute on these hybrid scenarios. And we'll come back with details for what these hybrid scenarios look like and how we're going to execute on them when we actually launch Dynamics 365 in October. So no, that's not what we all necessarily wanted to hear, but that's the reality of where we are right now. And again, we are working as hard as we can to get clarity and get to an updated set of plans based on these announcements. If you want to read more about these announcements, the Azure team posted a couple of blogs today, so you can learn more about some of the hybrid visions and plans that they're putting forward there. The other thing I wanted to share a little bit is when we talk about cloud, some of the things that often comes up in conversations with customers, if they have some of the counter arguments about cloud, it's often related to reliability, availability and disaster recovery, and then supported service level agreements. We are actually in a really, really good spot compared to competitors out there. I know it's new for many of us to actually have these conversations with customers, but when we compare our commitments, our data and so forth with competitors in the space, including Salesforce, SAP, Workforce, NetSuite and so forth, we are actually on the leading edge. And we're not going to stop there. We today have actually a financially backed 99.5% uptime guarantee. It's financially backed and it's very well defined in our service level agreements how it works. But to take that as an example, we expect to actually increase that number to 99.9% before the end of the year with some investments we're doing there. So we continue to push ourselves in all these different areas. Other things that are included with the service here is you have redundancy of data. We have disaster recovery within the geo, so we meet all the regulatory compliance and so forth. And another element that often comes up that is just important to share with customers up front when you talk about cloud is just that we have data and process isolation. One of the most frequent arguments I hear from customers that haven't really looked into this, customers that say like, no, I don't want to be in the cloud. It's often because they think that that data is being stored in the same database as all other customers. We have data isolation. And oftentimes that one argument takes away the cloud concern. There are several other examples, but we'll continue to push on this. And again, later this month, we will actually publish a document that spells out exactly how we're operating the service, what all the terms are, and so forth, beyond what is in the legal document. So we look forward to sharing that and continue to obviously improve in these areas. Now, as I mentioned before, when we started here, a lot of the things, or the things that you know from AX today, are transitioning and transforming into Dynamics 365, all the way from retail, manufacturing, public sector, distribution, finance, HCM, all the things we do today, they're all becoming part of Dynamics 365. And I think that we've talked a lot about Dynamics 365. You've heard a lot about Office, and you've heard a lot about third-party business apps with AppSource and so forth. I am really, really happy today that we have James Phillips with us here. James is the architect and the designer behind a lot of this structure. And what we wanted to do here is to have a little conversation about the app platform, talk about the common data model and some of the opportunities that provides for you and your customers. James?
Thank you, Christian.
Thank you very much. And by the way, we didn't go shop together.
No. Scott Guthrie was wearing the exact same outfit on stage, so it's the C&E uniform this week, I guess.
It is. James, tell us a little bit about the background for the whole model here, and maybe more specifically the application platform, how that is going to bring all of these things together.
Okay. So the vision that we have is that our customers and partners can be served by a set of applications that build atop a common framework and a common data model ultimately. We want our customers to be able to choose business applications from Microsoft, from our partners, or to build custom business applications that natively work together as a result of being built atop this common platform and sharing a well-defined schema of business data. In addition to what we've done with Dynamics 365 by sort of breaking down the walls between ERP and CRM and thinking holistically about structured business processes, we've also sort of integrated with and brought together Office 365 with Dynamics 365. And so we're really looking holistically at both structured business processes, unstructured productivity processes, and thinking across all of those in a unified way. And at the bottom, there's something called the Microsoft Common Data Model, and there was a blog post that was put out today, so you can go get more information on that. But the idea with the Common Data Model is that we have a set of predictable, well-defined business objects, entities, that represent things like lead, opportunity, customer, invoice, inventory item, calendar, task. And so we're taking entities from Office, from CRM, from ERP, relating them together and forming this core model that we're now targeting from our business applications that Power Apps knows about, that Power BI knows about, that Microsoft Flow knows about. And so you can go create composite applications very, very quickly using this platform. So the vision is choice, the ability to pick and choose and to put together solutions that sort of work well together by construction as a result of the consistency of platform and data model. And we will, in early August, I believe we're targeting the first week of August, make available for a public preview the common data model initially released beneath Microsoft Power Apps. And so if you're building Power Apps and you want to create a solution that builds on top of this data model, you want to add additional objects to the data model and relate those to the standard objects, you'll be able to do that in August.
So are we going to change the entire schema for AX?
No, we're not going to change the entire schema for AX. We're going to do way more than that. It's interesting. So if you look at what we announced, and for those of you who've been around for a long time, you know, there have been runs at, I think, trying to get to this sort of unified data model in the past, and they were aborted runs. And I think Oracle struggled with Fusion, trying to get to this consolidated model. And so it's a difficult problem to solve. And so versus taking the approach that others have taken historically, frankly, including ourselves, where we sort of halt everything, try and get a bunch of architects together to invent some crazy schema and then port all our applications to the schema, which is sort of destined to fail, we're taking a different tack. What we're doing is, AX, which will be renamed shortly to Dynamics 365 for Operations, Microsoft CRM Online, which will be, or Dynamics CRM, which will be renamed soon to a collection of offerings, Dynamics 365 for Sales, for Marketing, etc. Those applications will continue to have their same data model and platform beneath them. So if what you're trying to do is extend AX or extend what was CRM, you'll still have XRM, you'll still have the AX platform available for those individual applications. If what you're trying to do, though, is to build a composite application that spans Office, CRM, ERP, we will replicate the data from those applications into this common model that will give you the ability to create orchestrations, to create composites that, that sort of stitch together these. Now, over time, we will take the business logic out of these applications and we will re-implement it or re-host it on top of the model. But we'll do it in a stepwise manner. We'll peel things off as we start to execute the strategy that Christian articulated. We're bringing together and then disaggregating. And so as we re-implement these individual capabilities, we will rehome them on the common data model. And you know, it's interesting because we're sort of at a transition point anyway from an application perspective. If you think about AX and you think about what is CRM Online, fantastic systems, but ripe, I think, for innovation when you start to think about natural language, you start to think about IoT, you start to think about what can a modern business application really look like in a world where the technology has changed so dramatically. So as we reimagine the apps, we have an opportunity not just to replat for replat's sake, but to both reimagine and target the common data model. But it's going to be a journey. It's not going to happen overnight. We're not going to take away the platforms and the models beneath the apps as they exist today. But in a pragmatic, step-by-step manner, we will converge to this common data model. But out of the gate, you'll have all the data consolidated in a well-documented model with the ability with Power BI, Power Apps, Microsoft Flow, and all of our professional developer tools to go build composites.
Right. So that common data model will also be available when you develop within the native development environments of what used to be AX and CRM. So they'll be able to look at these things. Is there any guidance here to the audience on how to think about customizations and development going forward across what they're used to within AX, predominantly in this audience, and when to use Power Apps?
Yeah, so if what you're trying to do is build on the AX business logic, if what you're trying to do is to add new capabilities into the user interface, if you're trying to literally adjust the behavior of AX, then the extensibility framework, the AX platform, is the platform to permit you to do that. If you're trying to build composite applications or net new applications that can stand alone, then the Power Apps, Power BI, Flow, and professional developer family over here on top of CDM is the right vehicle for that.
How far are we with the development of Power Apps and so forth? Can it be used today?
Absolutely. Well, I think maybe we'll cut over and stop talking about theory and have Ryan show us what we're able to do right now today.
Can you guys hear me okay? Let's pop over. So just a couple of really quick examples here of both Power Apps and Flow, effectively Flow first in action. A lot of what we've been talking about today is the fact that different departments and different teams are using different systems, and I think we can all relate to that in a really visceral way, right? Ops is using AX, sales is using CRM to track new accounts. Here in a customer success team, we use a SharePoint list to track who's assigned to what deal, and by the way, we also individually use Wunderlist to track our own tasks of who we need to follow up with, and we use a Slack channel to communicate with each other, right? Kids these days. Flow brings that all together in a very easy, visual, composable way. And the people on all of your teams who have been doing the stuff around software that's not writing software, the consultants that have been defining business problems and writing requirements documents and understanding schemas and whatnot, can now start to use those same skills to build these things very visually, right? And say, hey, whenever a new account is added in CRM or Dynamics 365 for sales, let's go replicate it as a customer in operations right away. So we get out of that old dance of manually reconciling things across different systems. And hey, if it's a big account, if we think the opportunity size is over a certain trigger, let's kick off an actual workflow that fits our needs here on the CSM team. Let's go add it to that SharePoint list and pull data through the system using that common data model. Let's map the account name that was originally entered into CRM, the number that came out from there, and let's add that to SharePoint. Let's add it to our Wunderlist to create a task. Let's add it to that Slack channel. And if it's not a big account, then we'll still send an email because we're also using email too, right? We can start to compose these things really easily. Adding to them is extremely simple, right? I can add a SharePoint item just like that and start filling out those sequences. So those skills are extremely transferable. So let's see it in action, right? I can pop over here. We've got a new account. We're queuing it up. I'm going to say it's a $5 million opportunity. That sounds pretty good. Sure enough, we're going to go enter that and pop over and watch it start to work through the flow. What's cool about flow is that these are sort of ephemeral processes up running behind the scenes. I'm not actually interacting with the software, but I'm getting data behind the scenes about what's happening, right? I'm seeing the flow of information literally across my systems as an admin, as that business analyst, as they happen. And if something goes wrong, I can quickly jump in and debug it. And if things are going right, I can see the evidence of them running as they happen. In fact, I can even see the outputs that are dropped. This was a run that we did earlier right into those systems. So sure enough, we can see that that consolidated messenger account we just saved was added here to Wunderlist. And if we refresh our SharePoint list, it should show up here as well. There it is. Consolidated Messenger just got added, and just like that, the bot popped it into our Slack channel too. So pretty powerful stuff, very easy to compose and very easy to change and edit. When we want to add steps to that, we can do it pretty easy. But we can take that up a notch as well with Power Apps. When we talk about composing things, when James mentions composite applications, things that really leverage that full power of the Microsoft graph between information in Dynamics 365, information in Office 365. That's where the possibilities get really exciting, right? And just a simple workflow for somebody similar to that CSM agent, right? The customer success manager who's on site with customers going to meetings all the time, to be able to take the information that's already in their Outlook calendar and go look up information from CRM to say, what do we know about this customer? And then go look up information from operations and say, what do we know about orders that are actually open and their delivery status? To be able to just flip through that with all of the beauty of a modern mobile app that I expect, to be able to say, hey, tomorrow morning I've got a meeting with Consolidated Messenger. It seems like there's an issue with this particular sales order. In fact, it looks like we're not going to be able to deliver it by the time they requested. So I can actually now pop in here and start interacting with these systems through this UI. I'm not just reading data. I can say, hey, let's change the shipping method for them because I'm here and I want to do that for my customer. Let's just make a simple pop through our operations system to air shipping as opposed to ground, and we'll make that note. Well, I can't spell, but you trust me. Maybe we'll even use interesting controls here to estimate their customer satisfaction at that moment, right? There's a lot we can put into this environment, submit it back, and sure enough, we're going to change those projections and update them and move as we go. Now, this is a pretty cool app. You can't buy this app today. Building this from scratch is a daunting proposition, especially when you think about doing it in a traditional method to work across Android and iOS and the web and other platforms. But building it in Power Apps is alarmingly simple and capable, right? And we can start to come in here and leverage all of this same power of those data connections that we saw in Flow and actually take advantage of them, right? We can say, hey, let's pull different elements out of that underlying data platform. This happens to be coming from Office. Rather than the subject line here, let's throw in the location, right? And we can start to use those skills that our business analysts have from Excel and other places to be able to really create and iterate on these applications very quickly. And that's pretty powerful to see coming together. So James talked about that platform and those pieces and how they're working. There's a site about that called businessplatform.microsoft.com you can check out that goes along with that blog post about the common data model. We'd love you to go look at it. But in closing, I really want to bring up one more person to the stage because this isn't just theory and it isn't just diagrams and websites and demos. It's actually working in the world with real partners and real customers today. So this is Evan from Confluent who's going to show you something even cooler, which is an app that's actually in production.
Thank you, Ryan.
Yeah, thank you. So as we mentioned, this is a real live app in production. So this customer of ours has about 20 locations across North America. They're using this today to their electrical repair business doing electrical motors. So this is their live app right now. So I'm going to go in here and I'm going to go ahead and start putting in some information. I can do the drop downs. All the drop downs are coming from CRM. So like we talked about earlier, this is really a hybrid cloud approach. Their core system is really old from an ERP standpoint, flat files. So we're typing this is all coming in live data right from the cloud. And then what I can do is I can start to work through this and put in what I need. So as I go through this, all this data is being stored live. It's going back into their ERP system. It's raising jobs, all in real time. So let me pop this out here. There we go. All right, so I can put in, we have all of our business rules involved here. So again, a lot of the things that you have from an AX standpoint can all be right here. We're pulling data totally live. So if I want to pull live from their system, I can say, hey, I want to see it. It's all coming right through the cloud, all in production today. We're using custom APIs and other pieces to pull right from their data. I can see we pulled back a BP customer. I can also go in here and start to see some shipping information. Again, all live, all in real time. And now I can go through and I can finish up the job. I can see what they can do. They can put in everything they need. Again, it's a great way to interact and pull out pieces and parts from your core AX business processes and put them right in the hands of the user, whether it's something like this or something like time entries, all available today, again, right here in one place. And as I go through, I can put in what I need. And again, it's going to just go through, and I can take pictures. I can do anything you can do on a device you can start to capture and store and have as part of that common data model. So, throw it back over to you.
Thank you very much, Evan.
Thank you.
So I hope with this we've given you a good sense for the trajectory of the business and the amount of change that we're all going through. I know you're all moving at different pace and are changing in different ways and trying to figure this out. It's new, and there's a lot of things that needs to get figured out. I hope we've given you a view of the roadmap and how we're investing and how we are thinking about this hybrid model as the future, where it's both cloud and on-premise together in a hybrid environment. It's never going to be an either-or as we move forward. It'll always be the best of both worlds as we're bringing these things together. And then I'm really, really excited about the scale and the investments we're putting into the cloud in general, and how we are basically targeting and addressing everything we hear from you and from customers on arguments for why not cloud. So we're basically going after a lot of those things. And today, frankly, we're finding 70 to 80% of these arguments are non-rational. We can address all of them. There are a few things that we still need to work on. But it's important for us to hear from you as well when you hear some of these arguments. Like, make sure we know and understand them as well. Obviously, there's a few things that you can do to get ready. I think you all know what you need to do if you're not always already ready. There's a lot of work to do, obviously, to make this transition. And there'll be things you discover along the way. Not so much about the product. It's about the business of thinking of how to run a cloud business in general. We have a few more sessions today. I mentioned also there's going to be a session around pricing later this afternoon. And we also have our pricing team down in the expo floor. It'll be a good way for you to get any questions answered about the transition into Dynamics 365 and how that whole thing is going to work. I'll tell you this, it's going to be really, really, really simple for you if you come from an AX background, because it's very, very straightforward. And we'll also disclose over the next few weeks, along with the campaign materials for install bases, what attractive incentive models we can have for customers as they upgrade from AX 2009 and AX 2012. So with that, I want to leave you with a quick view of Dynamics AX7, and thank you very much for your time here at WPC.
Take advantage of new opportunities and offer exceptional customer experiences. The new Microsoft Dynamics AX delivers a beautiful and intelligent new user experience, seamlessly integrated with Office 365. It gives people real-time insights with embedded Power BI and through predefined workspaces and access to information on virtually any device, anywhere. This allows them to get the right information they need to do their jobs, make smarter decisions faster, and be more productive. The new Microsoft Dynamics AX is the first enterprise-class ERP solution built on and for Microsoft Azure. It gives businesses the ability to harness the power of an intelligent, scalable, and secure cloud so they can grow at their own pace and scale operations globally. The new Dynamics AX also lets businesses take advantage of their existing technology investments by integrating with legacy infrastructure and administrative systems. Businesses can also expect a faster time to value with more predictable planning and implementation and built-in management and monitoring tools. Microsoft Dynamics AX helps organizations increase the speed of doing business so they can enable business growth, be more competitive, and deliver amazing customer experiences. Get started today at aka.ms/dynamicsax.